So, Amazon is pretty much the go-to source for books nowadays. Like, really, you're never going to find anything cheaper, brand new from Amazon. Most of my books that I get, or like just about all the books I get, are either from cheap thrift shops that I find them there, like I'm lucky enough to find them there for like $1 and I'll pick them up, or if I'm looking for a very specific book and it's worth it, I'll get it from Amazon. Usually the price is like not that bad for a new copy or even a used copy. I get a lot of my stuff off Amazon, and I think a lot of people do too, which is why I found this interesting, but rather, and honestly quite hypocritical of Amazon. And I'm very annoyed by it. This is the page, and I actually went to Google to find this. I went to Google, I searched for one of Tommy Robinson's books. I read his first one, Enemy of the State. I haven't read the one I'm about to talk about, unfortunately, so keep that in mind. I have not read the book. I've read his first book, and it was pretty decent. I liked it, and I left a review on this channel. But when I went to go to his second book, which is called Muhammad's Quran, and it basically goes through the Quran, and it's a critique of the Quran, and it says this is why radical Islamists believe what they do. It goes through the Quran, and it offers his interpretation of it. This is Amazon's page for it. This is the Amazon page for his book. Sorry we couldn't find that page. I went to Google, searched for it, found the search result that used to be there, or for the page that used to be there, clicked on it, and that's what it brings us to. It's gone. They took it down after he was banned from both Facebook and Instagram. It's gone. And again, like, does Amazon have to provide a platform to every single book out there, even books they disagree with? No, I think it's a thing that anyone with integrity would do, that even if you disagree with what people are selling, what people want to sell, you can say, like, sure, I will provide a platform to everyone that wants to sell their product, as long as it's not like certain legal things, as long as it's stuff that won't get Amazon thrown in jail. It's like, I understand that. If they want to turn down, certain illegal things, they don't have to sell cocaine on their site. But I would appreciate some sort of integrity on their part of, hey, we'll offer to sell pretty much everything as long as it's not like illegal. That's just decent integrity, I think, of running a company. But this is his book here, and it's gone. They took it down just over the last 24 hours. And of all the books to take down, like, why this one? Why? I don't understand why this one. They didn't take down his other book, Enemy of the State, which makes me think they took it down specifically for its content. It wasn't because it was Tommy Robinson's book. They took it down. Well, I mean, that probably played a role in it, but they didn't have some kind of new rule, no Tommy Robinson books, because again, his other book is on there as well. It's just this one that they took down. And again, I haven't read it, but it seems to be about, as far as I can tell from the reviews on other sites, Muhammad's Quran. It's his interpretation. He goes through the Quran, critiques it pretty heavily, and that's why they took it down, apparently, because critiquing the Quran is now bad. And I have read a few critiques of the Quran. I've never read the Quran myself. That's a project for one day in the future. But overall, these critiques, as far as I can tell, are pretty much legit. The book had very positive reviews. I couldn't find anyone that specifically said everything he says in here is false. He's just making up stuff. He says, here's the passages, here's what they say, and this is why I'm critical of them, is basically what he says. This is why jihadis do what they do. This is their source. That's what the book does, and I think that's a valuable book to have, but Amazon, I guess, didn't think so, because, again, is it wrong to critique certain ideologies? I don't get that. It clearly can't be that it's wrong to critique religion, because there are loads of books out there about that, of critiquing all kinds, like all of the Richard Dawkins books and Sam Harris's books are out there. And again, I'm not advocating that they be taken down. Those are decent books as well. But why this book? I find this very interesting that Amazon decided to take down this book in particular. And again, we can't say that it's because Amazon has some kind of policy where they're against calling for violence. They're against, I mean, I don't think the book called for violence, but I can't imagine they're against, like, hosting some pretty immoral books on their platform. I have two examples, one right here. One being Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook, an organization that is considered by the FBI to be a terrorist organization. Like, at that point, it's kind of like if ISIS put out a book called the ISIS Handbook. This is pretty bad. Again, I am fully understanding that ISIS is a lot worse than Antifa. I think that's mostly because ISIS is more skilled, not because they're more evil. Antifa seems to be pretty dang awful. And I can't imagine that they have if they have a policy against violence, that they would host a book like this. I am confused as to why this book is somehow not any worse than Tommy Robinson's book on the Quran. It's just I'm trying to understand where the standard is and where the line is. And again, I don't see it. But this book, I mean, everyone's heard. This is like the go-to book. So I'm going to pick a book that's 1,000 times worse than this. You might say, like, okay, well, again, I haven't read this book, so I can't say for sure. I'm only relying on reviews. But it's a pretty awful book, but it also talks about history and legitimate anti-fascist movements. It talks about the legitimate Antifa back in the 1930s and that. So sure, like, you can give them some defense there. Maybe that's why they host it. However, we have books like this called How to Destroy a Man Now. Again, a book I haven't read because, I mean, if you want to see my shelf of books I need to read yet, it's right here and it's gigantic. I've got too much to read to get around to this stuff yet, but this is a book, to briefly summarize, a book on how to destroy a man by destroying his reputation, how to falsely accuse him of stuff, how to falsely accuse him of assault, and pretty much how to spread lies about him and destroy his life. That is what this book is about. And it even says in the book, like, hey, we're not saying this stuff's moral, we're not saying this stuff's ethical, but if you want to destroy someone's life, here's how you do it. Now, do I think Amazon should take this book down? Not really, no. I think this book should be up here on Amazon along with all the other books saying, like, so we can see, look how awful this is. I think that's something, like, I'm fine with this being there because we can see how awful, like, I'm not for taking down any ideas, any book. I'm not for any kind of, like, digital book burning, which seems to be, in a sense, what this kind of is when you have as much power as Amazon. And again, like, Amazon, I suppose it's their own company. This is their own platform. They can do whatever they want. Sure, like, I know there's going to be arguments saying that. I get that. But my issue is, it's like, just because someone has the legal right to do something, just because someone is doing something with their own property, does not mean I can't criticize and say how awful that is. Just as how if someone wants to boycott a company, or if someone wants to do pretty much anything that isn't necessarily legal, I can still criticize them for being awful. And I think holding a double standard like this is awful. I don't know if Amazon made this decision. Something tells me that Amazon is probably a company that really doesn't care that much about one of Tommy Robinson's books. Like, it's not that important to them. They're probably not thinking, like, after Tommy Robinson was banned, they're probably not thinking, you know what, we should really take down this book. I don't think that's what happened. I think, as is the case with so many other situations, there were pressure groups that were like, hey, take this down, like, you need to take this down, take this off your site, like, we're going to boycott you, we're going to pressure you to do this, we're going to, however, like the lobbyist groups do that with companies, they were pressuring the company, take this down now, and Amazon folded, as I imagine what happens, because as we've seen yesterday with Tommy Robinson being banned, there were loads of organizations, all kinds, like Hope Not Hate was just one of them, loads of organizations that were saying, yes, we celebrate the fact that this person was taken off the internet. So I got to imagine that those same organizations were doing the same thing with this. But yeah, anyway, back to the original page. Completely gone. Nothing. Like, it's not there. It's and his other book is there too, which makes me think the fact that he's talking bad about Islam has something to do with it. I don't know. Maybe it's two different factors together, because again, Amazon didn't ban all the books criticizing Islam. They're still, like, Robert Spencer's books are still on here. And that's what his career is criticizing Islam. So, and all of his books are still here. And again, it can't be just Tommy Robinson, because his other book, Enemy of the State, is still there. So, what is it about this book in particular? I don't know. But generally, if a book is filled with lies, even if it's like on my own side per se, I tend to hear about that. Like, I tend to follow enough of a diverse, like, array of groups that generally, if there's a critique of a book, I will hear about it. If there's a critique of a book on my side, generally I'll hear about it, because they'll say, here's the problem with this book. This book contains lies here, and there. And obviously there are critiques of this book, but I haven't found any that were like, yeah, he just fabricated stuff. Or I haven't found anything that really said, this book is badly written. It's something like, all I found is, we disagree with your interpretations. I found, we disagree with your Islamophobia, but I've never found something that said, this book is like fake news. So again, why did Amazon take it down? I find that interesting, especially a day after he was taken down Facebook and Instagram. And again, why not all of his books? Was it a newsworthy thing? I don't know. Was it because if they took down both of his books, that would be in the news much more? I'm not aware. But I imagine that some group probably, or multiple groups, probably pressured Amazon to take this down. Because again, I don't think when you're running Amazon, people probably don't care that much, I think, to be honest. Maybe it was one rogue employee in Amazon that had that power to say, nope, like, take this down, this violates our terms of service because I said so, who knows, but the point is, they took it down, it's worth criticizing, it's worth pointing out, and hey, There are plenty of ways online to find this book. They're all over the place. Used books on Alibris.com. I believe they sell used books. That's on there as well. There are other ways to buy this book, and Robert Spencer probably sells it, to be perfectly honest. I didn't check beforehand. I should have, but Robert Spencer probably might sell Tommy Robinson's book as well. But hey, maybe I'll see if I can find it cheap and buy it and read it just to get its name out there after this happened. Because again, like, Amazon is where I go. Like, there are times where I'll search for an author, and if the book is not on Amazon, I assume it doesn't exist. That's generally how it works, and I don't think I'm alone in that regard. I think if a lot of people, when they want to find out about an author, they look up the author on Amazon and see the books they made. That's what I did for Ayn Rand. Like, when I was deep into learning objectivism, when I wanted to find out all of the books she read, I just found her author page and I went down the list and went through all the books. And I assumed if it wasn't on Amazon, it didn't exist. But hey, I don't know exactly what's going to happen here. I know people can upload their own, like, used books. I know people can, like, make their own kind of, like, official yet unofficial pages of third party. This is it's kind of like an eBay. People can do that with Amazon. So maybe they're out there as well, but I couldn't find them. But yeah, just to make you aware that this is what's happening. It's not just Facebook, it's not just Instagram, it's Amazon as well. And hopefully we'll find out in the next few days which organization pressured them to do this, because I don't think it was just Amazon. I don't think it was Jeff Bezos thinking, we should take down this book off Amazon. I don't think that's what happened. I think it was pressure from Hope Not Hate and the other groups. But no, this is a bad sign. If that wasn't obvious, this is a bad sign that that the companies that are, like, the biggest bookstore in the world is folding to the supposed, like, anti-hate organizations. But yeah, that's what this video is. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe for more, spread it around. If you have, if you are aware of if you want to post in the comments section a link to this book on maybe another site, I will automatically be picked up by the spam filter and hidden. But I will make sure later today to go through the spam filter, see if I can find that and approve it. But because, just like, again, when it comes to books, like, that is, knowledge is my thing. Like, information is my thing. Like, I do not want this information gone. I want to preserve as much information as possible, and it annoys me as soon as anyone, for any reason, like, takes this down. Like, if anyone's seen the books in my house, like, I've got some of the most hateful, horrible books out there. I've got Hitler's Mein Kampf. I've got the Communist Manifesto. I've got all kinds of horrible, terrible, unethical books. You can even argue that 48 Laws of Power, which I'm reading right now, is an unethical book because it doesn't talk about ethics, it talks about tactics. You could argue all those things are horrible books, but they're worth reading still, even if they say some bad things in them. Like, they're worth reading for history, and they're worth preserving as an archive. So, and actually, I suppose that's another thing to keep in mind. Amazon sells Hitler's Mein Kampf. That's where I got my copy from. Amazon sells that here. So again, if they have an issue with, like, hateful rhetoric, why are they allowing that on Amazon? Why are they allowing the Communist Manifesto on Amazon? I don't even know why I didn't think about that till now. They were selling that. Maybe they aren't actually anymore. Maybe they've taken them down since then, and I just haven't checked. But I got it from Amazon. And it wasn't so that I could become the next Hitler. It wasn't so I could take his advice. It was to understand one of the worst people in history. And when you start taking down books like this, when you start choosing to take down books, like, again, I can't imagine that Tommy Robinson was the one that was like, hey, I'm going to take down my book off Amazon right after I got banned. I don't think that's what happened. But if anyone knows any more information, of course, I always encourage you, leave a link in the description. I'll find out what happens. I will, of course, as always, if I find out anything new, if I find out any updates, I will change the video title, I'll change the description. I will do whatever I can to update people, because I don't want to just leave you with this and not any more information. But if you have information, leave a comment. If you're watching this now, check the comments, see if anyone's added any extra information here. Like the video if you enjoyed. Hit the subscribe button for more. I've gained a lot of new subscribers recently from my last Tommy Robinson video and my last video on censorship. So subscribe for more if you haven't already. And thanks for watching.